Concentrate on the important issues and remember your goals. Let me offer you a few examples of petty thinking versus big thinking.
First situation, working out expense accounts. The petty thinker will figure out ways to increase his income by chiseling or even cheating on expense accounts. The big thinker will figure out ways to increase his income by selling more merchandise and regard the expense account as just that, an expense account. On the idea of progress, the petty thinker believes in the status quo and in taking no chances. The big thinker believes in ideas, expansion, new challenges. On the matter of security, the petty thinker is preoccupied with security problems. The big thinker regards security as a natural companion of success and doesn't worry about it. The petty thinker magnifies minor errors and turns them into big issues. The big thinker ignores errors of little consequence and strives to learn from significant mistakes. So let's briefly sum up some of the tools for thinking big. Don't sell yourself short. Conquer the foe of self-deprecation. Concentrate on your assets. You're really a lot better than you think you are. Use the big thinker's vocabulary. Use big, bright, cheerful words. Use words that promise victory, hope, happiness, pleasure. Avoid words that create images of failure, defeat, and hopelessness. Stretch your vision. See what can be, not just what is. Practice adding value to things, to people, and especially to yourself. Get the big view of your job and of your life. Think, really believe that your present job is important and that you're important too. That next promotion depends mostly on how you think towards your present job. Finally, keep your mind above trivial things. Focus your attention on big objectives. Before getting involved in a petty matter, ask yourself, is it really important?
You've heard me use the word creative several times so far. I've made the point that thinking creatively is an important part of thinking big. But a lot of people are intimidated by that word creative. But they shouldn't be. Let me clear up a common fallacy about the meaning of creative thinking. Certain fields such as art and architecture and music and writing and science and a few others have been labeled creative. Now certainly, those fields do involve a lot of creativity, but creative thinking is not reserved for a few special occupations or a few special people. Well, then what is creative thinking? Let me give you some examples. When a low-income family devises a plan to send their children to college, believe me, that's creative thinking. When a neighborhood group turns the neighborhood's most undesirable lot into a beauty spot, that's creative thinking. When a minister develops a plan that doubles his Sunday attendance, he's simply applying creative thinking. Figuring out ways to simplify record keeping, coming up with a new use for a computer program, selling the impossible customer, keeping the kids occupied constructively. These are all examples of practical, everyday creative thinking. And they're just as creative as the architect's new bridge or the composer's new symphony. Creative thinking is simply finding new, better, improved ways of doing things. The rewards of all types of success at home, success at work, success in the community, all hinge on finding ways to do things better. Now, let's see what we can do to develop and strengthen our creative thinking ability.
The first step is to simply believe it can be done. Here again is that basic truth. To do anything, you must first believe in it. Believing something can be done sets the mind in motion to find ways to do it. To illustrate this, David Schwartz often asks groups in motivation and training sessions this question: do you feel that it's possible to eliminate jails in the next 25 years? Think about this question for a moment. Now, what's your reaction to the question? Did your mind begin searching for ways to accomplish the challenge that the question raises, to eliminate jails in 25 years? Or did you give it a few moments consideration and simply reject the possibility? If you're like most people, you probably did the latter, rejected the proposition altogether, and decided, no, it's simply not possible to eliminate jails in 25 years. In fact, most people immediately think of all the reasons we have to have jails: keeping the populace safe from criminals, keeping order on our streets, the fact that some criminals are incorrigible, and so forth. But the question is asked to make a point. For just a few moments, forget the reasons that we have to have jails, and just assume that we can eliminate jails in 25 years. Make the assumption. If this could be done, how would you propose we begin? What kinds of things could be done as alternatives? pause for a moment and give that some thought. Did you have any ideas? If you did, you're not alone. David Schwartz has a list of 78 specific ideas that people have come up with in his seminars to begin the process of eliminating jails. Things like establishing youth centers to cut down on crime, conducting research to spot potential criminals before they commit a crime, working to eliminate poverty, educating law enforcement personnel in positive methods of reform. Now, the point of this, again, is not really to eliminate jails. The point is to illustrate that when you believe something is impossible, your mind goes to work for you to prove why it's impossible. But when you really believe that something can be done, your mind goes to work and helps you find ways to do it.
You, the one who thought you weren't going to make it, who thought you couldn't get up again, who thought it was over, who thought it was the worst day you've ever had, your track record for surviving bad days is 100%. So what would make you think that you won't survive the next bad day? Because God keeps getting you up over and over and over again. So when I fall, I just get up again. Man, he is really good at this. So I got labeled the hardest working man in Hollywood because of my father. My father was a coal miner. He was very poor. My father made $5 a day. He was a coal miner. He had 5 kids. My mother was a Sunday school teacher. My mother taught Sunday school. My mother never worked a day in her life. My father took care of my mother and all his kids. So my father taught me very young. He said, listen to me, son. They can out-sing you. They can outrun you. There were people who can out-jump you. There are people who will outdress you. There are some people who can out-talk you. There are some boys who can out-throw you. There are some people who can out-dash you. But don't you let no man living outwork you. Nobody can outwork me. I don't care who you are. It doesn't matter. I bet you can't. I bet you can't. You can't outwork me. You might be smarter than me, but you can't outwork me. You can't out-hustle me, not Steve Harvey. I'm a hustler, man. I'm a bad man. I'm a hustler for real. No one, I don't care how much money they got. I don't care what color they are. I don't care what their family name is. You cannot outwork me. I won't let you. If you stay up for 5 hours, I stay up for 6. If you go to bed at 11, I go to bed at midnight. If you get up at 6, I get up at 5. If you go to lunch for an hour, I go to lunch for 45 minutes. If you come to work early, I come in earlier than you. That's how I work. So my first TV show was Showtime at the Apollo. Now, I have been homeless when I got this TV show. I have been homeless for 3 years. I lived in a car. But I was telling jokes, and so I had some videotapes, and they saw it, and they asked me to come and perform. I performed. I did well. They asked me to come again. I did well again. They offered me the job of hosting Showtime at the Apollo. They paid me. It was the most unbelievable feeling because, you look, I went from zero money to back then in 1992, I think I made about, for the 1992, I made about $22,000 a week. Now listen to me. In Hollywood, that's nothing. That's nothing. But for me, it was everything. You go from zero to $22,000, you gotta be kidding me. I thought I was rich. And to me, I was rich. And so that first check, I spent all of it. I didn't even try to save no money. I took it to the bank, I cashed it. I got $22,000 cash in my pocket. I was not leaving my money in the bank because I had been homeless so long, I needed my money in my pocket. I had $22,000 cash in my pocket.
you get your money's worth, right? When you shell out your cash, especially these days, you want to make sure you get full value for the money you spend. And I know the tab for the seminar was not that much, pretty modest fee to get in. Most of you, your tips for the week, right? So it wasn't that much, but I want you to be able to say when you walk out of here today, it was worth my money. But my biggest responsibility is to make sure you get your time's worth. And the reason I say that is because time is more valuable than money. In fact, you might start your notes with that. Time is more valuable than money. You can get more money, but unfortunately you can't get more time. If somebody asks you to spend your money, that's pretty easy, right? We live in America, we're wealthy, so the money's not the problem. But what if somebody asks you to spend a day, right? You got to think that over carefully, and I know you did. I wouldn't waste one of my days, not for anybody, not for anything. Once I understood how valuable they were, I don't waste any. But to make an investment like today of your money and your time, I appreciate that. Today's going to be costly for me. It's going to cost me one of my days to be here, right? And some money, of course, but I don't need the money. I take the money, but I don't need the money. But guess what I do need? The time. So I'm here not to just joke with you. I'm here not to just tell some funny stories and give a performance and walk away. I'm here to give you some value, and I want to make it worth your time. I'm going to invest a day. You're going to invest a day. Let's get the most out of it and see what we can walk away with today. Anyway, for you that have not seen me before, just very briefly, let me just tell you my story. I grew up in Idaho, farm country, southwest corner of Idaho. In fact, my father still lives on the old homestead where I grew up. He'll be 89 his next birthday. He still hasn't retired. I'm proud of my dad. He's never been ill. He's really something. I'm trying to get him to retire this year, 88. I'm telling my father, what a good year to retire when you're 88. And he says, hey, talk to me in 10 years. Right? I might be ready. But anyway, I went to high school. I graduated. I went to college 1 year. Halfway through my second year of college, I decided I was smart enough, so I quit. One of my major mistakes. I should have stayed in school. But I thought, heck, I'm smart enough to get a job. That's what life's all about, right? Get a job, pay your bills, work hard, stay out of trouble, keep your fingers crossed, hope for the best. And I figured I was at least prepared to do that. So I quit college and went to work. A little while later, got married, got my little family going, and I'm out there doing what I thought was the best I could. But about age 25, I'm starting to struggle. I've purchased a little more than I can conveniently pay for on time, and the creditors are starting to call saying, hey, you told us the check was in the mail, what's the deal? And I'm getting embarrassed by that. I'm also embarrassed, big mouth me, with all the fancy promises I made to get married. I'm way behind on those promises, and I'm getting discouraged, wondering what to do. And I thought, well, maybe I should go back to school, right? 1 year of college, pretty short on an application. But, tough to go back to school, right? Especially when you got your family going. Time to stay is when you're there. So I discounted that. I thought, well, if I, had my own business, that would be the way to go. But, I'm short on money. Too much month at the end of the money. If you've ever been there, that's where I was, age 25. So I had to discount that, and I'm discouraged, wondering, where do I go from here? And then the miracle happened for me. Good fortune came my way. And who can explain good fortune? I don't know. Remarkable things that happen to you at a particular time. Sometimes it's just unexplainable how those things happen.
Very good. I like to ask that question. There's no saying that if you aim at nothing in life, you hit nothing dead on the head. I've been looking at my life and reflecting on my life because 10 years ago I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. I stand before you because of God's grace and mercy and faith, and knowing that as we work together, as we believe in the possibilities of the fact that healing takes place first within, then without, the possibility is unlimited of what we can do. I'm going to do a national tour called You Are More Powerful Than Cancer. One of the things I think doctors should never tell anyone they're terminally ill. I think what they should say is that my knowledge and ability to help you has terminated. My PSA 10 years ago was 110. As I stand before you, it's 270. 1 to 4 men, that's normal. And PSA stands for prostate specific antigen, but to me, PSA stands for positively staying alive. I was reflecting on my life during the time when I received 238 radiation seed implants. And as I looked at my life, I asked myself a question, and I want to ask you a question. How many of you know if you had your life to live over again, you could have done more than what you've done thus far? Raise your hands, please. Now, that proves the point of what we do, what we accomplish, what we produce in life is only a tip of the iceberg of what's possible for us. I want you to think about some major goal that gives your life a sense of meaning right now. And as you're thinking about that, I want you to shake someone's hand on your right and your left and around you. Look them in the eyes and say with conviction, you have something special. Do that quickly now, please. Tell them you have something special. Yes. So now, I want you to join me right now. I want you to think about some major goal that you'd like to achieve. Something that gives your life a sense of meaning. Something that will give your life a sense of purpose and direction. My first major goal was to buy my mother a home. That was important to me. I'm adopted. I was born in a poor section of Miami, Florida called Liberty City, in an abandoned building on a floor with a twin brother. And when we were 6 weeks of age, we were adopted by Mrs. Mamie Brown. My mother was 46 years of age. She only had a third grade education, but she had a PhD in mother wit. I feel like Abraham Lincoln, who said, all that I am and all that ever hope to be, I owe to my mother. I saw a sign once that said, God took me out of my biological mother's womb and placed me in the heart of my adopted mother. So my goal and dream was to buy my mother a home, to take care of my mother. My mother was a domestic worker on Miami Beach, and she would go to work, and many days she would take us with her. And we ate the food left over from the families that my mother cooked for. They were very kind and generous people. They would say, Mamie, whatever food is left over after you cook, you can pack it up and take it home to the children, the food that's left over after we eat, and feed those 7 children that you have adopted. Because of their generosity, many nights we did not go to bed hungry because they were so kind and so giving. We wore the hand-me-down clothes of the children that Mama kept. If they were too small, Mama could sew, she would let them out. If they were too large, she would take them in. And my mother was a great baker. She could bake a cake. She could bake a sweet potato pie so good you couldn't eat it with your shoes on.
You're going to see the end of it. The Lord have done great things for us. Have you thought about that lately? Have you ever had to remind yourself how blessed you were? That the Lord have done great things for us? You know it's the enemy's job to always show you the negative, but you got to count up the positive and say, you know what? It's not as bad as I think it is. The Lord have done great things for us. And I'm going to go ahead and be glad. I give you permission to be glad. I give you permission to have joy. I give you permission to get your smile back. I give you permission to get your praise back. I give you permission. Some of you have not had permission. You've been locked up. You've been shackled down. You've been bound. You've been held captive by a spirit of defeatism. But I break you loose, and I give you permission right now. I break every bond of your spirit. Well, we are glad. We are glad. Turn again our captivity as you near the streams in the south. Turn it absolutely around until I look schizophrenic. Turn it around until they think I've lost my mind. Turn it around until the last time you saw me, I was laying down crying like this, and you thought I would never get back. And when you come back in the door, I'm laughing and dancing and shouting and praising. God will turn it around. He turned our captivity around. And then the writer says that you can. The writer reveals that the tears were never tears at all. It was how God irrigated the seeds I sowed, that not one tear was wasted. For every tear I shed, I watered a promise. And they that sow in tears shall reap in joy. Now to all of you that I'm preaching to who have not gone through any dark places, this is not your Sunday. You can go ahead and log off, because this Sunday I'm talking to people who have been to hell and back. I'm talking to people who have dealt with things they could say nothing about. I'm talking to people who have grown within themselves, and I'm telling you it was not without cause. They that sow in tears shall reap in joy. I tell you, it's gonna be schizophrenia. You're gonna be sowing in tears and reaping in joy. You're gonna sow it in suffering. You're gonna reap it in dancing. You're gonna sow it in pain. You're gonna reap it in purpose. You're going to sow it in agony. You're going to reap it in power. God is getting ready to bring us into the fruition. And you know how I know? Because all hell is breaking loose. That's how I know it. Because things that you've never seen before are starting to happen. Because we are seeing devils being loosed out of the pits of hell to come against us right now. The devil wouldn't be fighting us if there weren't something on the other side of this. And I don't know what you're going to do about it, but I'm going to hold on.
Faith without works is dead. You hear it all the time. You go to church and you learn all these scriptures, but then you don't apply none of them to your life. You're looking at a man who has made the simple application of 3 or 4 scriptures and maxed them out to get here. I maxed out 3, 4 scriptures to get here. I kid you not. I'll share them with you if you want to hear about them, but I maxed out 3, 4 scriptures to get here. I'd love to tell you I'm the funniest person ever lived, but I ain't. Richard Pryor got that. I'd love to tell you I'm the greatest entertainer, but I ain't. Michael Jackson was that. I got all that, but they gone. So I probably am. But listen, man, but I got to tell you something. If you could get a couple of things from me, if you could gather this piece of information. Albert Einstein said once, he said, imagination is everything. It's the preview to life's coming attraction. Now, I want you to get this now. Imagination is everything. It's the preview to life's coming attraction. Because if you think about it, everything you have, everything we have in this world, somebody imagined. It's your imagination is tremendous. Somebody was sitting on the phone one day talking with a cord to the wall and said, man, I wish I could just go outside with this phone. Everybody in here got a cell phone. Somebody imagined that. Somebody got tired of riding in a wagon cross country from slavery to freedom. Somebody said, I wish we had something that made these wheels move by themselves. We drive cars. People got tired of driving from New York to LA. Somebody said, I wish we could fly. We got airplanes. Imagination is everything. It's the preview to life's coming attraction. Your real life, the one God really got for you, is in your imagination. It is not in your current situation or your current paycheck. And if you've been living like that, you have then restricted yourself to a commonality that is really not yours. Because what really God got for you is really in your imagination. Now, since there's a lot of church folk in here, let me tie that to a scripture, because this is when you really start affecting black folk. See, y'all don't really bleed nothing till you tie it to some type of church thing. So let's just go on and do that. And once again, before I start this, I am not a pastor or a preacher. So there is a scripture that Albert Einstein took this quote. It's like the book The Secret. The Secret is one of the top-selling motivational books ever. But if you read the book The Secret, it's all biblical. Everything comes from the Bible. You really don't need self-help books. You don't need The Magic of Thinking Big, The Power of Positive Thinking, How to Win Friends and Influence People, Think and Grow Rich, The Winner's Circle. I've read them all. All of that information is in Proverbs, all of it. But let me give you this scripture. You've all heard this, right? Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. So when I told you a minute ago, you got to have a tremendous work ethic, but you got to have a lot of faith. I talk to so many people who get older, like some of us are, and they've lost their faith. Well, faith is really simple. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. All that means is in the beginning, you just...
Now, fear is going to be a player in your life, but you get to decide how much. You can spend your whole life imagining ghosts, worrying about the pathway to the future, but all there will ever be is what's happening here and the decisions we make in this moment, which are based in either love or fear. So many of us choose our path out of fear disguised as practicality. What we really want seems impossibly out of reach and ridiculous to expect, so we never dare to ask the universe for it. I'm saying I'm the proof that you can ask the universe for it. My father could have been a great comedian, but he didn't believe that that was possible for him. And so he made a conservative choice. Instead, he got a safe job as an accountant. And when I was 12 years old, he was let go from that safe job, and our family had to do whatever we could to survive. I learned many great lessons from my father, not the least of which was that you can fail at what you don't, so you might as well take a chance on doing what you love. I watched the effect of my father's love and humor and how it altered the world around me, and I thought, that's something to do. That's something worth my time. It wasn't long before I started acting up. People would come over to the house, and they'd be greeted by a 7-year-old throwing himself down a large flight of stairs. When I was about 28, after a decade as a professional comedian, I realized one night in LA that the purpose of my life had always been to free people from concern, just like my dad. And when I realized this, I dubbed my new devotion the Church of Freedom from Concern. And I dedicated myself to that ministry. What's yours? How will you serve the world? What do they need that your talent can provide? That's all you have to figure out. As someone who's done what you're about to go and do, I can tell you from experience, the effect you have on others is the most valuable currency there is. Everything you gain in life will rot and fall apart, and all that will be left of you is what was in your heart and got me to the top of a mountain. Look where I am. Look what I get to do. Everywhere I go. I'm going to get emotional because when I tap into this, it really is extraordinary to me. I did something that made people present their best selves to me wherever I go. I am at the top of the mountain, and I was, and the only one I hadn't freed was myself, and that's when my search for identity deepened. I wondered who I'd be without my fame. Who would I be if I said things that people didn't want to hear? Or if I defied their expectations of me? What if I showed up to the party without my Mardi Gras mask and refuse to flash my breasts for a handful of beads. But you guys are so ahead of the game. You already know who you are. And that peace that we're after lies somewhere beyond personality, beyond the perception of others, beyond invention and disguise, even beyond effort itself. You can join the game, fight the wars, play with form all you want, but to find real peace, you have to let the armor go. Your need for acceptance can make you invisible in this world. Don't let anything stand in the way of the light that shines through this form. Risk being seen in all of your glory.
I enjoy connecting with people and ideas, and you know, I have a mission statement. So every year for probably the past 10 years, I've worked out a mission statement for myself. And for the last few years, the mission statement has stayed the same, and it's been improve lives, right? So when I go into something, I'm looking for how the quality of this piece could potentially improve lives. But it's all along the way. It's when you make the movie and how you're interacting with people in the process. And, the concept of improving lives runs through the center of everything I do. And then I realized that the way to improve lives is to continually improve yourself, right? So with that, every morning when I get out of the bed, I haven't fixed everything in the world yet, so there's always something to do. And in this film, I read an interesting quote from the Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha. He said that good people have to get out of the bed every day and try to empty the ocean with a ladle, right? And I thought that was, I knew that was profound, and I paused for a second and I said, all right, what the hell is a ladle? As the mentality of how you wake up every day to try to do good in the world. So for me, I'm really driven by continually trying to elevate my mind and elevate my spirit and care for my body, and to be able to love as many people as effectively as possible with this mystery of life that I've been given.
It says, if you search, you will find. So make the note, it's good. Finding is reserved for the searchers because they deserve it. Now, at first they may have needed it, but they now know that just needing it is not sufficient. But if they need it, now they must qualify for it. The reason why you're going to be blessed with good ideas this weekend is because you've come searching. You've gotten on an airplane to come searching. Got in your automobile to come searching. You got here searching. Now you're ready to receive. And for those who search, they will find answers. They will find plans, imagination to stir yourself into action for future benefit. So if you search, to find a good idea, you must go looking, go searching. You've got to go to church. You've got to go to class. You've got to go to the seminar. You've got to go to the library. You've got to go to the books if you wish to find. Rarely does a good idea interrupt you. Rarely. But if you will search, you will find. So we get not what we need, but we get what we deserve. It says if you ask, someone has an answer. If you keep asking, the answers belong to you. Because by virtue of asking, you have qualified. So we don't get what we need, we get what we deserve. The mother on welfare should be taught in some small manner that hopefully she can begin deserving the welfare check. Not getting it because she needs it, but now starting to get it because she deserves it. If the welfare worker says to Mary, Mary, I brought a bucket of paint and a paintbrush, and the next time I come, if the door is painted and the fence here in front is painted, I give you the check for $450. Not that painting the door and painting the fence is worth $450. It's not worth that much, but it is the beginning of the process. So make that note. I want to begin the process of deserving. What would that be? What process should I begin engaging in to deserve good health, to deserve a good relationship, to deserve prosperity, to deserve an enterprise, to deserve the opportunity to build a city? What must I do to begin the process of deserving? So now the welfare worker comes back and the door is painted and the fence is painted. And now Mary gets the $450 to help take care of her children, not because she needs it, but because she's beginning to deserve it. Then the welfare worker thinks of some other project. She said, Mary, if these weeds are gone and this little garden is cultivated, when I come back, now that the door is painted and the fence is painted, if the weeds are gone and this little garden is cultivated, you get the $450. And step by step, a new life is emerging, learning the process of deserving it, not just needing. We teach our children at home, right? Child says, I need $10. So that language doesn't work here. There's plenty of money here, and the vaults are full. But to say I need $10 is not how you open the vault. So the child says what? Wow, how can I get that $10 that I need? So here's what they learn to say. How could I earn $10? Now the vault opens up. Now the money starts to flow. How could I earn $10? What could I do to earn the money? Not to get the money because you need it. Maybe you need the money. That's, all of us have needs. But here the key is to figure out how to open the vault, how to open the bank, how to open this unbelievable flow of resources to come our way. And here's the key, to deserve it, not to need it. You can't walk out to the field and say to the field, I need a crop. Here's what the field says. Here's what the ground says. Who is this clown that brings me his need but brings me no seed? So jot that down. Take your seed to the marketplace, not your need. Don't disclose your need to the marketplace, only your willingness. We'll talk about that a little later today. Because the marketplace is not interested in your need, but they are interested in your seed. They're interested in your willingness to work. They're interested in your disciplines. They're interested in your eagerness. They're interested in your vitality and your work ethic. That's what the marketplace is interested in. Not your need, but your seed. We get what we deserve.
You shouldn't put money in a house. You should put money in your brand. You should put money in the marketing. You should promote yourself, not put money in where you and the kids live.
Right. Why is that a mistake?
Because it's dead money. I mean, it can't, a house can't make you money. A house does not make you money. The only reason people think a house makes them money is they're comparing it to, if I rent, that costs me money. But, you know, if you need to go to a hospital, you don't buy the hospital. You rent a bed to get out of there as fast as you can. If you go on a trip, you go to America and you want to go to Disneyland, you don't buy the hotel, you rent a room. And nobody thinks poorly of that. They're like, yeah, I'm gonna go there, use the place and get out. That's what you should be doing with your living. Find a place where you can rent. Pay rent monthly. Don't own the house. And take all the money that you would have put in that house purchase, down payment, extra money, fixing it up. Use all that money to improve your business and yourself so that you can get more money. Right? So I see so many people here like, I'm going to invest 300,000 pounds in a house to hopefully make $30,000, 30,000 pounds. Right. I'm going to buy it for 300. Maybe I'll sell it for 600,000. I'll double my money. Fixed in one place, by the way, where no money comes to you. Money does not go to homes.
Right. And that's a big thing on your career is moving locations.
Yeah, I've moved 5 or 6 times. I can move another 4 or 5 times.
Because people who stay in the same place get too comfortable.
If you study wealthy people, they're mercurial. They're moving, they're mobile. They're not talking, Warren Buffett and Bill Gates do not talk about the home they live in. They talk about the places they're going to. They go meet money, they go meet wealth, they go meet connections.
People are stunningly accepting of anything if they actually believe that's the purest form of it. I think I'd be less acceptable if I hedged. I really do. People will accept you. People accept everything. Just be you. Be you, and clearly people like react. When you're trying to fake something and you've got bad intent, well then that's visceral and we hate. But I actually think we don't give love to the person that actually knows they have it and they're trying to fake it to conform. Hence why I won't adjust to this market all the way, because I don't think I'll be respected. I know what my intent is, so why would I be scared? I want to build the biggest building in town. That's who I am.
Once you think about the goals that you want to achieve, and I really want to challenge you to make up your mind that you're going to make that happen for yourself. And I hope that it's some goal that really resonates with who you are. When I was a little boy, my goal was to just buy groceries for our family. My mother worked on Miami Beach. She was a domestic worker. And my goal was to really be able to go to the grocery store and purchase groceries ourselves. The families knew that my mother had adopted 7 children. And so they said, Mamie, whatever food is left over after we eat, you can take that home to the children. They were very kind, very, very considerate people. My mother, who when she worked on Miami Beach, the people were very kind. I was appreciative of their generosity. But as a little boy, I said, Mama, one day, when I become a big boy, I'm going to be able to buy groceries for us. My goal as a little boy was to buy clothes for my brothers and sisters. We wore the hand-me-down clothes of the children that Mama babysat for when she went over in Miami Beach. And if the clothes were too small, she would let them out. And if they were too large, Mama could sew and take them up. And I'll never forget David Sidursky. His father was very wealthy. Mama worked for him, but David was my buddy. And so his father gave him 2 gifts for his birthday. Gave him a brand new boat, but he also gave him some motivational tapes. Earl Nightingale, I'll never forget. So he said, David, man, let me tell you something. When I die, you're going to get everything. I want you to listen to these tapes. And when his father left the room, David threw those tapes in the wastebasket. I said, David, could I have those tapes? He said, yes. I said, man, your father said, if you listen to these, you can get more and do more than what he's done. He said, look, I don't get everything anyhow. Go ahead, take them. Write this down. It's not what you leave for your children, it's what you leave in them. You have something special. You have greatness within you. And the only reason you are here, you are my assignment. You can feel me. Some of you feel me right here in your heart of hearts. And my goal is to get past your mind and into your heart. So it's necessary that you have the mindset that I can do this. You've got to begin to believe and to fortify that belief and feed that belief by listening to tapes, going to seminars and workshops, by challenging yourself, by stretching yourself. It was Osborne who said, unless you attempt to do something beyond that which you've already mastered, you will never grow. And as you begin to challenge yourself, you'll discover some things about yourself that you don't know right now. The other thing is you begin to look at yourself, look at your dreams, and begin to experiment and stepping into your greatness. One of the things that's very important, whatever goals and dreams that you have, make your move before you're ready.